The Aurora Station's grand dining hall had never looked more magnificent, its transparent dome offering a breathtaking view of the nebula-painted cosmos beyond. Jasper Reed adjusted his formal diplomatic uniform for the 100th time, his palms slightly damp with nervous anticipation. As the cultural liaison between Earth and the Luminari Empire, tonight's first contact dinner was the culmination of months of preparation. "Remember, Reed," Captain Torres said, appearing beside him with military precision, "this isn't just about serving good food. The Luminari have agreed to this meeting after decades of isolation. One wrong move and we lose our chance at joining the Galactic Confederation." Jasper nodded, running his fingers through his auburn hair. "I've studied their customs extensively, Captain. 3 months of linguistic preparation, cultural immersion programs, even meditation techniques to understand their energy-based communication methods." "Good," Torres replied, his weathered face showing the strain of command. "Because if this goes south, it won't just be your career on the line. Earth's entire future in space depends on making a good impression tonight." The massive doors at the far end of the hall began to glow with an ethereal blue light, signaling the arrival of the Luminari delegation. Jasper's breath caught in his throat as the first figure glided through the entrance. The Luminari were even more beautiful than the holographic recordings had suggested, tall, elegant beings with skin that seemed to capture and reflect starlight itself. Leading the group was Ambassador Quinn Stellaris, his silver-blue skin emanating a soft radiance that spoke of both authority and ancient wisdom. His flowing robes shimmered with patterns that seemed to move of their own accord, and his eyes held the depth of someone who had seen the birth and death of stars. But it was the figure beside him that made Jasper's heart skip several beats. Princess Nyx Stellaris moved with the fluid grace of someone born among the stars. Her skin was a pale luminescent blue-white, like moonlight on water, and her hair flowed like liquid silver down to her waist. She wore a gown that seemed to be woven from captured starlight, its fabric shifting between deep purples and brilliant whites with each step. Her eyes, twin pools of violet fire, surveyed the human delegation with curious intelligence. "Magnificent, aren't they?" whispered Lieutenant Rodriguez, the station's xenobiologist, who had materialized beside Jasper. "The Luminari are said to be descended from pure energy beings. That's why their emotions are literally visible in their skin coloration." Jasper nodded absently, unable to look away from Princess Nyx. As their eyes met across the room, he felt something electric pass between them, a connection that transcended species barriers. Her skin brightened slightly, a soft pink blush mixing with her natural luminescence. The formal introductions proceeded with diplomatic precision. Ambassador Quinn spoke in the melodic tones of formal Luminari, his words accompanied by subtle shifts in his skin's radiance. Captain Torres responded with equal formality, and gradually, the two groups began to mingle. Jasper found himself strategically positioned across from Princess Nyx at the main table, a seating arrangement that he suspected was no accident. The princess seemed genuinely curious about human culture, asking thoughtful questions about Earth's art, music, and philosophy. "Your species fascinates me," she said, her voice like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "Humans seem to find strength in your emotions rather than being controlled by them. Among my people, emotional display is often considered undisciplined. Yet your skin shows your feelings so beautifully," Jasper replied, mesmerized by the way soft colors played across her features as she spoke. "It's like watching the aurora borealis given human form." Princess Nyx's skin brightened with what he hoped was pleasure. "You speak our language well for a human. Have you studied long?" This was his moment. Jasper had been practicing a particular phrase for weeks, something he'd found in an ancient Luminari text about appreciation of beauty. He wanted to show her that humans could appreciate the subtleties of her culture. "I've been preparing for this meeting for months," he said, then switched to carefully practiced Luminari. "Your inner light dances with the music of twin souls seeking eternal harmony." The effect was instantaneous and catastrophic. Princess Nyx's luminescent skin suddenly blazed from soft blue-white to deep, vibrant purple. Her violet eyes widened to impossible proportions, and she made a small choking sound, as if she'd forgotten how to breathe. The piece of crystallized fruit she'd been delicately tasting fell from her suddenly nerveless fingers. The reaction rippled through the Luminari delegation like wildfire. Ambassador Quinn shot to his feet, his skin darkening to an ominous storm cloud gray. The other Luminari at the table began glowing with various shades of shock and outrage, brilliant reds, angry oranges, and scandalized crimsons. "How dare you?" Ambassador Quinn's voice thundered through the dining hall, causing several human diplomats to drop their utensils. "You proposition my sister with the sacred binding ritual in front of the entire delegation." Jasper felt the blood drain from his face. What? I was just complimenting her beauty." "That phrase," said Elder Kalen, the delegation's cultural advisor, his ancient features rigid with disapproval, "is the formal opening of the soulbind ceremony, the most intimate proposal ritual in our culture. You have essentially asked Princess Nyx to merge her very essence with yours for eternity." Captain Torres, who had been watching the exchange with growing horror, stepped forward. "Ambassador Stellaris, I assure you that Liaison Reed meant no offense. This is clearly a misunderstanding." "Misunderstanding?" Ambassador Quinn's skin was now cycling through angry reds and purples. "He has proposed the most sacred of bonds to a princess of the royal blood. In our culture, such words cannot be taken back once spoken. They carry the weight of cosmic law." Princess Nyx, meanwhile, had managed to regain some composure, though her skin remained a deep, embarrassed purple. She was staring at Jasper with an expression he couldn't quite read, shock, certainly, but was that curiosity flickering in her violet eyes? "Brother," she said softly, her voice carrying clearly in the suddenly silent hall, "perhaps we should discuss this privately before." "There is nothing to discuss," Quinn snapped. "The human has either committed a grave insult through ignorance, or—" His eyes narrowed as he studied Jasper. He knew exactly what he was saying and has deliberately initiated the binding ritual. Jasper stood slowly, his mind racing. "Ambassador, I swear on my honor that I had no idea what those words truly meant. I found them in an ancient text about appreciating beauty. I thought I was giving your sister the highest compliment possible." The Luminari delegation exchanged glances, rapid shifts of color passing between them like a silent conversation. Finally, Elder Kalen spoke. "The soulbind ceremony, once initiated, cannot simply be dismissed. According to our most ancient laws, the princess must either accept the proposal and undergo the 3 trials, or reject it publicly, bringing shame upon both herself and her family line." Princess Nyx's purple flush deepened impossibly. "Elder Kalen, surely in a case of obvious cultural misunderstanding." "The law is clear, Your Highness," the elder replied gently. "Intent matters less than the words spoken. The sacred ritual has been invoked." Captain Torres looked like he was developing a migraine. "So what exactly are you saying? That Liaison Reed has accidentally married your princess?" "Not married," Ambassador Quinn said coldly. "Proposed the joining of souls across eternity. It's far more intimate than your human concept of marriage. And now, according to our law, he must either complete the 3 trials to prove his worthiness, or Princess Nyx must publicly reject him, declaring him unworthy of even the lowest consideration." The dining hall fell into stunned silence. Jasper looked at Princess Nyx, who was staring back at him with those mesmerizing violet eyes. Despite her embarrassment, there was something else there, something that made his heart race. "Your Highness," he said quietly, his voice carrying in the silence, "I apologize for putting you in this position. If my ignorance has caused you embarrassment, I'll accept whatever consequences you deem appropriate." Princess Nyx studied him for a long moment, her skin gradually shifting from deep purple to softer lavender. When she spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper, but every person in the room heard her clearly. "The trials," she said. I choose the trials." The hall erupted in gasps and surprised murmurs. Ambassador Quinn's skin flashed brilliant white with shock. "Nyx, you can't be serious. He's a human." Princess Nyx turned to her brother, and for the first time that evening, her skin brightened to its natural luminous blue-white. He took the time to learn our language, to study our customs. His mistake came from a desire to honor our culture, not mock it. Besides, she glanced back at Jasper, and he could have sworn he saw a small smile playing at the corners of her mouth. Don't our ancient texts say that the binding ritual finds its own way to those meant to be joined? As the implications of her words sank in, Jasper realized that his simple diplomatic dinner had just become something far more complex, and potentially wonderful, than he had ever imagined. The stars outside the station's dome seemed to pulse with brighter light, as if the universe itself was holding its breath to see what would happen next. The private conference room aboard Aurora Station felt cramped despite its generous dimensions, the weight of cosmic implications pressing down on everyone present. Jasper sat rigidly in his chair, still processing the fact that he'd accidentally proposed the alien equivalent of eternal soul marriage to a princess he'd met 3 hours ago. Princess Nyx sat across from him, her luminescent skin cycling through soft pastels. Nervousness, he was beginning to realize. Her brother paced behind her like a caged stellar wolf, his skin flickering between protective silver and frustrated red. "This is madness, Nyx," Ambassador Quinn said for the 5th time in 10 minutes. "The soulbind ceremony hasn't been invoked in over 3 centuries. Most of our people consider it an archaic relic. Yet it remains cosmic law," replied Elder Mira Voss, who had been summoned from the Luminari flagship. The ancient sage looked older than the stars themselves, her skin a soft, pearl-like white that seemed to contain entire galaxies. "Once the sacred words are spoken, the ritual must proceed or be formally rejected." Ben Clark, Jasper's best friend and fellow diplomat, leaned forward in his chair. "Let me get this straight, Jasper has to complete 3 trials to prove he's worthy of, what exactly?" Elder Voss's eyes, deep pools of cosmic wisdom, fixed on him. "The soulbind ceremony is not merely marriage as humans understand it. It is the joining of 2 consciousness across time and space, the melding of life forces into a single entity that transcends death itself." Jasper felt his mouth go dry. "And if I fail the trials? Then Princess Nyx must declare you unworthy before the cosmic arbiters," Elder Voss continued gravely. "She would be forbidden from ever considering another bond, marking her as one who attracted an unworthy soul. It would end her line's claim to succession." "No pressure," Ben muttered. Princess Nyx finally spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. "Elder Voss, in your wisdom, what exactly do the trials entail? The ancient texts in our archives are unclear." The elder's skin brightened slightly. What Jasper was learning meant amusement among the Luminari. "The trials adapt to the participants, child. They test not strength or knowledge, but the truth of intention and depth of connection. The first trial, the Maze of Memories, will examine Liaison Reed's emotional sincerity. The second, the Harmony of Souls, will test whether your essences can truly merge. The third." She paused. "The third is known only as the choice beyond stars." Captain Torres, who had been silently nursing a headache, finally spoke up. "How long do we have to prepare?" "The trials must begin within 3 solar cycles," Elder Voss replied. "Any longer, and the cosmic resonance of the sacred words fades. The ritual becomes void." Ambassador Quinn stopped pacing. 3 days. That's barely enough time to. Brother. Princess Nyx's voice carried a note of authority that reminded everyone she was royalty. "May I speak with Liaison Reed privately?" The room fell silent. Ben started to protest, but Jasper held up a hand. "It's all right," Jasper said. "I think we need to talk." One by one, the others filed out, though Ambassador Quinn lingered at the door. 10 minutes, Nyx. Then we discussed the political ramifications of this situation. When they were alone, the silence stretched between them like the space between stars. Princess Nyx's skin had settled into a soft, moonlight glow, and Jasper found himself mesmerized by the way light seemed to dance beneath her surface. "You must think I'm an idiot," he said finally. To his surprise, her skin brightened with what he was learning to recognize as gentle amusement. Actually, I think you're brave. Brave? I accidentally proposed eternal soul bondage to a woman I'd just met. Soul bonding, she corrected with a small smile. And you did it because you wanted to honor my culture. Most humans don't bother learning even basic luminary greetings. Jasper leaned forward. Your Highness. Nix, she interrupted. If we're going to be potentially bound for eternity, I think we can use first names. The casual comment sent a warm flutter through his chest. Nix, then. I have to ask, why did you choose the trials? You could have rejected the proposal and avoided all this political mess. She was quiet for a long moment, her skin cycling through thoughtful blues and purples. Do you believe in fate, Jasper? I'm not sure. Why? My grandmother once told me that the soulbind ceremony would find me when the time was right. That the universe would send someone who would see past my title, past my species, and connect with my true self. She looked directly at him, her violet eyes intense. Tonight, when you spoke those words, when you looked at me like I was just, me, not a princess or a diplomatic asset. I felt something I've never experienced before. Jasper's heart was racing. What did you feel? Recognition, she said softly. Like my soul was saying, finally, there you are. The confession hung in the air between them, charged with possibility. Jasper reached across the table, stopping just short of touching her hand. Nix, I need you to know, I have no idea what I'm doing here. I'm a mid-level diplomat from a small farming world. I have no royal blood, no special powers, nothing that would make me worthy of someone like you. Her skin brightened to brilliant white, joy, he realized. That's exactly why you might be worthy. The soulbind ceremony isn't about status or power. It's about connection. Truth. The willingness to see and be seen completely. Before Jasper could respond, the door chimed. Ben's voice came through the calm, Jasper, sorry to interrupt, but Elder Voss wants to speak with you about trial preparation. The moment broken, they pulled apart. But as they stood, Nix reached out and briefly touched his hand. The contact sent a shock of warmth up his arm, and for just an instant, he could have sworn he felt something else, a presence that wasn't quite his own, gentle and curious, brushing against his mind. Did you feel that? He whispered. Her skin flushed deep purple. The bonding process has already begun, she admitted. Once the sacred words are spoken, our consciousness start to resonate. It will grow stronger until the trials are complete. And if I fail? Then the connection breaks, she said, but her voice carried a note of loss that made his chest tight. And we both return to what we were before. Elder Voss was waiting in the outer chamber, her ancient features unreadable. Liaison Reed, walk with me. They strolled through the station's observation deck, the stars wheeling slowly beyond the transparent aluminum walls. Other diplomats and crew members gave them a wide berth. Word of the evening's events had clearly spread. You care for her, Elder Voss said. It wasn't a question. I barely know her, Jasper replied honestly. But yes, there's something there. Something I can't explain. The soulbind ceremony chooses its own participants, the elder said. In our history, forced or arranged bonds always fail the trials. Only true connection can pass the tests. What exactly will I face? Elder Voss stopped at a massive viewport showing the Luminari fleet in the distance, their ships glowing like captured stars. The maze of memories will force you to confront your deepest fears, your greatest regrets, your most hidden truths. It will strip away every pretense until only your core self remains. If that self is found wanting, if your feelings for Princess Nix are based on fascination rather than genuine connection, the maze will reveal it. Jasper swallowed hard. And the second trial? The harmony of souls requires you and Princess Nix to synchronize your life energies completely. You will experience each other's thoughts, emotions, memories. There can be no secrets, no hidden aspects of yourself. Many bonds fail here, when the participants realize they cannot accept what they find in each other. And the third trial? Elder Voss's expression grew solemn. The choice beyond stars has never been the same twice. It presents the bonded pair with a decision that will define not just their relationship, but their very souls. Some say it shows possible futures. Others believe it reveals the deepest desires of the heart. All I know is that those who pass emerge changed forever. They walked in silence for several minutes before Elder Voss spoke again. There is something else you should know, young human. The political implications of this bonding extend far beyond personal happiness. If successful, you and Princess Nyx would become the first human Luminari soul bond in history. It could change the relationship between our species forever. And if we fail? The scandal could set back diplomatic relations by decades. Princess Nyx would be essentially exiled from royal succession, and your Earth might find itself shut out of the Galactic Confederation. Jasper stopped walking. So the fate of two civilizations rests on whether I can prove I'm worthy of loving a woman I met 4 hours ago. Love, Elder Voss repeated thoughtfully. An interesting choice of words. Tell me, Liaison Reed, what is love to humans? Jasper considered the question. Connection. Understanding. The willingness to put someone else's happiness before your own. The desire to grow together, to become more than you could be alone. Elder Voss's skin brightened with approval. Perhaps there is hope after all. The trials begin tomorrow at sunset, when the stars align properly for the ceremony. Use the time wisely. As the elder glided away, Jasper remained at the viewport, staring out at the cosmos. Somewhere out there, Princess Nyx was probably having similar conversations with her own advisors. The thought of their growing connection, that strange resonance he'd felt when they touched, both thrilled and terrified him. 3 trials. 3 chances to prove that what he felt was real. 3 opportunities to either win the heart of an alien princess or doom 2 civilizations to diplomatic disaster. No pressure at all. The Aurora Station's holographic chamber had been transformed into something beyond human comprehension. Crystalline structures rose from the floor like frozen lightning, their surfaces reflecting not light but memories themselves. At the center of it all stood the maze of memories, a shifting labyrinth of translucent walls that seemed to pulse with their own heartbeat. Jasper stood at the entrance, dressed in the simple white robes that Elder Voss had provided. His hands trembled slightly as he watched the maze walls shift and reform, creating new pathways that led into swirling depths of silver mist. Princess Nyx sat in a meditation circle nearby, her skin glowing with soft blues and purples as she prepared to monitor his progress through their growing psychic bond. The connection between them had strengthened over the past day, allowing her to experience echoes of his emotions and thoughts. Remember, Elder Voss said, her ancient voice carrying the weight of cosmic wisdom, the maze will show you truths about yourself that you may not wish to see. It will manifest your deepest fears, your greatest regrets, your most shameful moments. You must face them all with complete honesty. Master Cale Thorn, the Luminari ritual keeper who had arrived that morning, circled the maze with obvious skepticism. His perfectly sculpted features and silver-gold skin marked him as one of the royal court's elite. The human will never survive the first level, he said dismissively. His primitive emotional structure cannot handle the psychic pressure. Ambassador Quinn, standing beside his sister, shot Cale a warning look. The ritual has been properly invoked. We will honor its requirements. Of course, Cale replied smoothly, but there was something calculating in his expression. I merely observe that Princess Nyx deserves a mate who can withstand the full depth of Luminari consciousness. Jasper caught the subtle emphasis on mate and noticed how Cale's eyes lingered on Nyx. So that's how it is, he thought. The ritual keeper had feelings for the princess himself. Are you ready, Jasper? Nyx's voice was soft but carried clearly across the chamber. When their eyes met, he felt that familiar electric connection, stronger now than before. As ready as anyone can be for cosmic soul surgery, he replied, managing a weak smile. Nix's skin brightened with gentle amusement. I'll be with you, she said. Not physically, but through our bond. When the maze becomes overwhelming, focus on that connection. Let it guide you back to truth. Jasper nodded and stepped forward into the maze. The moment his foot crossed the threshold, reality dissolved. He was 7 years old again, standing in his childhood bedroom on Earth. Rain lashed against the windows as his parents' voices echoed from downstairs, another fight about money, about his father's drinking, about dreams that had died under the weight of everyday survival. They're going to divorce because of you, whispered a voice that sounded like his own. If you hadn't been born, they could have afforded to be happy. The familiar guilt crashed over him like a tidal wave. But then he felt something else, a gentle warmth that wasn't his own. Through their bond, he could sense Nix's presence, her consciousness touching his with wordless comfort. You were a child, her mental voice whispered. Their pain was not your fault. The bedroom scene wavered and reformed. Now he was 18, standing in the academy acceptance ceremony. His parents beamed with pride as he received his diplomatic commission, the first person in his family to leave their farming world. But you left them behind, the maze whispered. You chose the stars over the people who raised you. This time, Jasper straightened his shoulders. I chose to become someone who could help others. They wanted me to reach for something better. The scene dissolved, replaced by another memory. The academy dormitory, late at night. His roommate James confessing his fears about the upcoming xenobiology exam. Jasper had the answers, he'd studied ahead, but he'd said nothing, letting James fail because it meant better rankings for himself. There, the maze hissed with satisfaction. Show the princess what you truly are. Selfish. Ambitious. Willing to sacrifice others for your own advancement. The memory hit him like a physical blow. He'd pushed that incident so far down that he'd almost forgotten it. But through their bond, he could feel Nix experiencing his shame, his regret over a moment of weakness that had cost someone else their dreams. To his surprise, her response wasn't judgment but understanding. He felt her own memories flowing back, times when royal duty had forced her to make decisions that hurt people she cared about. Moments when the weight of expectation had made her choose politics over compassion. We are both flawed, her mental voice was gentle. But we learn from our mistakes. That is what makes us worthy of love. The maze seemed to shudder at her words, the walls flickering with uncertainty. It had expected him to crumble under the weight of self-doubt, but instead he was finding strength in shared vulnerability. New scenes flashed around him, every moment of selfishness, every cruel word, every time he'd chosen the easy path over the right one. But each revelation was met not with condemnation but with acceptance from the connection he shared with Nix. Then the maze shifted tactics. Suddenly he was standing on the bridge of a burning starship. Emergency lights flashed as crew members screamed orders. Through the viewport, he could see luminary vessels attacking human colonies, Princess Nix standing on the command deck of the flagship, her face cold and imperious. This is what will happen, the maze whispered. Your love will lead to war. Millions will die because you were too selfish to walk away. The scene felt absolutely real. He could smell the smoke, feel the heat of the fires, hear the dying screams of colonists as luminary weapons tore their ships apart. She will betray you, the maze continued. Royal blood always chooses duty over love. You are nothing but a diplomatic curiosity to her. For a moment, doubt crept into his heart. What if this was true? What if his feelings were blinding him to political realities? But then he felt Nix's presence surge through their bond, stronger than ever before. Her consciousness wrapped around his like protective armor, and suddenly he could sense the maze's deception. You're showing me lies, he said aloud. Fear projections, not truth. The burning starship wavered like a mirage. The truth is that love creates connection, not division, Jasper continued, his voice growing stronger. Nix and I don't represent our species' worst impulses. We represent the possibility of something better. The maze walls began to crack, silver light bleeding through the fissures. I'm not perfect, Jasper declared. I've made mistakes, hurt people, chosen selfishly. But I'm here because I want to be better. Because she makes me want to be the best version of myself. The entire labyrinth shuddered and began to collapse. As the translucent walls fell away, Jasper found himself back in the holographic chamber, gasping as if he'd been underwater. Princess Nix was on her feet, her skin blazing with brilliant white light, pure joy and relief. Elder Voss nodded approvingly, while Ambassador Quinn looked stunned. Only Master Kale appeared displeased. Curious, he said coldly. The maze rarely accepts such, limited self-awareness. The maze accepted truth, Elder Voss corrected sharply. The human faced his flaws honestly and found strength in connection rather than isolation. That is precisely what the first trial tests. Jasper walked unsteadily toward Nix, their bond humming with shared emotion. When he reached her, she took his hands without hesitation. The moment their skin touched, he felt her memories of the trial, how she'd experienced every moment through their connection, how she'd shared his pain and offered her strength. I felt everything, she whispered. Your childhood, your regrets, your fears about us. And I felt how you chose love over fear at every turn. I felt you too, he replied. Your memories, your own struggles with duty versus desire. We're both imperfect, but together we're complete, she finished. Master Kale stepped forward, his expression calculating. The first trial is past, but two remain. The harmony of souls will require much deeper connection. Are you prepared to share not just memories but your very essence? Jasper looked into Nix's violet eyes and saw his own determination reflected there. When do we begin? Tomorrow, Elder Voss said. Rest now. The second trial will test not just your bond, but your ability to maintain individual identity while becoming one consciousness. As the chamber began to power down, Kale approached Nix with obvious concern. Your Highness, surely you see the danger in proceeding. This human may have passed the first trial, but the deeper connection could damage your royal consciousness irreparably. My consciousness is my own to risk, Nix replied firmly. And after what we just shared, I'm more certain than ever that this bond is meant to be. That night, as Jasper lay in his quarters staring out at the stars, he could feel Nix's presence like a warm light in his mind. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, deeper tests of their connection. But for the first time since this all began, he felt truly hopeful. Whatever the universe threw at them, they would face it together. And in the vast cosmos beyond Aurora Station, ancient forces began to take notice of the unprecedented bond forming between human and luminary consciousness, a connection that would soon reshape the very fabric of interstellar relations. The trials were far from over, but love had already begun to change the stars themselves.